What's going on, guys? These are 4 bad habits that if you're doing, they're destroying your mixes. Let's get into it. And the last tip I have for you guys, I've never seen on YouTube, so you're gonna want to stick around for that one. Bad habit number 1 is putting reverb or other effects on individual tracks rather than on buses. The reason why you shouldn't be putting effects on individual tracks, specifically with reverbs, is because when you have 5 tracks with their own individual reverb, you're basically stacking these reverbs on each other, and then it becomes way more amplified and muddy, and then it's going to be almost impossible to get a clean mix. So what you're going to want to do to fix this is, instead of putting a reverb on individual tracks, you're going to put it on a send. Put the reverb on one send or a bus, and then whenever you want to use that reverb on a melodic element or any element at all, you can turn up the bus on that track, and then the reverb will be sending through as one rather than like 5. Alright, so I went ahead and I put a reverb on every single one of these melodic elements. I probably wouldn't have put a reverb on every single one in general, but this is just for an example. And they all have the same reverb. They all have the super verb with 27 and everything is the same, just like a bus would be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn all these off. Now I'm going to open up a new bus and I'm going to put the super verb on it, and then I'm going to keep this one at 100% because since it's on a bus, I'm able to change the wetness of the reverb with this dial right here. Alright, this is what it sounds like when you use a reverb on a bus channel. So it sounds a lot cleaner. Alright, the next bad habit is restarting projects instead of fixing what's wrong with them. Here's a track that I have not finished that I did the same thing with. This project's a good example. I was trying to make a beat and I did not really like it, so I decided to stop making it. I'm going to show you that I can easily fix this beat if I were to just keep working with it. So immediately I realized that I'm gonna have to change the 808 sound. It's really muddy, so maybe what I can do is I can raise the semitones of this beat, maybe 2 or 3, just to get it out of that muddy area. And then this sound, I'm not really hearing too much in the mix, and it doesn't really fit with everything else. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change it. Let's try the zap. I think that works a lot better. I could probably compress this snare a little bit because it is not hitting as hard as I want it to. And then I'm going to just increase these high pitch frequencies a little bit. Like that. And I could probably even change the sound, maybe. This one doesn't sound too bad. I panned this because it was clashing with the hi-hat. They're both in a similar frequency, so I wanted this one to kind of get out of the way. And I'm hearing a nice open hat. This one's good enough for now. I might change it later. So what I can do is put one here and then I can duplicate it. It's already sounding way better. And if I were to just restart, this beat would be in the vault, never used again. But if I just work on it a little bit, even like the next day, if you just take a break, come back the next day, it's a lot better to finish tracks every single time rather than restarting immediately when you lose motivation. Alright guys, the third bad habit is not properly training your ears so that you can hear things accurately. If you're constantly comparing mixes between your own tracks, you're going to build bad habits within that. Say your 808 sounds really good in one track, so you try to emulate the same thing that you did in the next track, except it's overcompressed or it's undercompressed. Compare it to a professionally mixed song. It's going to be really hard to get that accurate mix every time if your ears aren't trained to listen for what that is when you're mixing. To fix this bad habit, there's a really cool tool called Sound Gym where you can test your ears in a lot of different ways like EQ, compression, reverb, delay, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each one and try to complete them myself. Ugh. What? Okay, I clearly need to be doing this, but that just shows that even if your mixes you think they sound good, they might not, because you may be worse at mixing than you think. So now I'm going to do the test gain and dynamics. Select the correct amplitude differences in dB. There we go. Yes, sir. Okay, maybe getting good headphones is a good idea for this. Alright, perfect. Now we go to stereo impression. Look at the sounds pan left to right. Okay, this one's gonna be kind of hard. Aw. Ooh. Alright, so Peak Master, pretty bad. DB King, okay. So this was a really good drill to do because it teaches you where EQs are at. So obviously the EQ is really important to learn because you may actually not be able to tell the frequencies very well, and that could be hindering your mixes a lot. So yeah, this is a really good tool to use if you want to increase your accuracy when it comes to EQ, compression, and panning. I did see there was a couple of other things you might have to pay for them, but even the free version itself is pretty good, a pretty good tool for all these different things. Alright guys, if you found this video helpful in any way so far, would appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button. Yeah, thank you. Alright guys, for this last bad habit, if you're the type of person that makes really good beats but nobody's using them, this might be the reason why. The reason why your beats are not getting played or used when you send them out is because you're making beats for producers rather than making beats for a singer or a rapper. What that means is you're stacking too many melodic elements or just too many elements at all to make the beat way more complex than it needs to be, so then you're not allowing anybody to fit into that track. The beat might sound really cool to you as a producer and other people as producers, but as a rapper or a singer, if it's hard to find a flow on the song, they're just gonna skip it. Nobody wants to have to think really hard about putting a flow on the track. So I'm gonna show you two examples of beats. One is a beat that's too complex and one is a beat that is a little easier to find a flow on. That was beat 1, and here's beat 2. Alright, so if you guess beat 1 as the producer beat and beat 2 as a beat for rappers and singers, or in this case probably a rapper, you would be right. It is a little easy to tell because there's a lot less elements in this song. And one way to really tell when you're making a beat if it is a beat for a producer or a rapper is if you can, while you're playing it, just kind of mumble rap to it and find a flow. It doesn't have to be a good flow, just a flow in general. If you can find one, then at least you know somebody else is going to be able to find one as well. And just because a beat is a little too complex does not mean that you can't fix it. So this beat was way too complex. I can't even think of a flow on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try to clear out some of the unnecessary sounds, and I'm going to be explaining what I'm doing as I go along. So you hear all that dissonance that's happening in a sound. I'm trying to get rid of that, or at least get rid of most of it. I found it was in this EFX Motions plugin. So basically the dissonance was coming from this -2. It was playing the original sound and then a sound -2 semitones, I believe. Let's listen back to this and see if it sounds any better. Sounds a lot better. So that's a little less muddy. The sound might be a little too loud. So what I did there was kind of important. Basically, I deleted the thing that was right here, this flute, because this is also a melody. It's a counter melody. And that playing with this is a little too complex, so I only wanted one of them to be playing at one given time. This is what it sounds like with both of them. There may be ways to make that work in mixing. However, for me, I think it's just better to delete it completely. I'm not deleting the pads and I'm not deleting this vocal because they are very soft background sounds that don't have a lot of like rhythm or melodic elements to them rather than just like chords or like a long note. And what I ended up doing is I just turned down a little bit of the melody because then when somebody hops on this, it's a little easier to fit the vocals. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, would appreciate it if you would hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if you have any ideas for content that you want me to do, anything that you haven't seen on YouTube before or anybody else cover, or just anything in general, just let me know in the comments and I'd be so down to do that. Alright, peace.